Hi, it's Steve, and I am here with Pam Goodmansen. Hello, Pam.
Hi, Steve.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So, we're going to talk about freedom. And let's start with this question. How has the work you do on behalf of freedom affected you personally, and what challenges has it posed, and how do you deal with those challenges?
So, the way that it's affected me personally is I've always been patriotic. My dad's a World War II vet, and so I grew up in a family where we were very patriotic, love God, love country, and it wasn't until I guess you could say I was invited into the the dark side, basically, where I learned what was really happening out there. And I will be very general in what I say, but I will say that I was contacted and I was told, "Hey, come join the family. We want you to run for a public office, and when you run for this public office, we will pay you $500,000." And you can keep $50,000 for your signs and just keep the rest. And I said, well, is this legal? And they said, well, no, I mean, we have to pay you under the table, but once you get into office, you will vote in all of our projects that we want to do, whatever buildings we want to build, whatever projects we have. And they said, we already own them. Well, I don't even want to say that. They already own some people in that arena and they needed one more person. So I would be, with my vote, they would be able to get all of their projects in. They said, you know, you start at this position and then you can move up through the ranks. We own mayors, governors, senators, congressmen. We own people all over the country and they vote in our projects. And that is what woke me up to the corruption. It was shocking to me. I went to my church authority and I was recording the tapes when they were calling me because I was shocked. And I felt like, okay, I'm not going to do this. And they told me that whenever they invite anyone into the family, that people just do this. And so I gave a copy of the tapes to my church authority and to other people. And I didn't tell anybody about this for years because it was scary to me. It was something that I was very uncomfortable. And, but I wanted to be protected and I wanted people to have these tapes in case the word ever got out. Um, as if anything happened to me because I didn't go along with what they wanted. So it's been several years since then, but at that time, it was right when the Tea Party revolution was starting in America. And so I went online and I thought, how can I get involved? What can I do? And so I found there were five other people that they were starting a tea party in my area. And so we worked together and we put on the first tea party in a public park. We had a couple thousand people come. And that was on April 15th of 2009. And then July 4th, we went ahead and put on another big demonstration for people to come. And this time I told the people that there were six of us working on it. And I said, we need to get names, phone numbers, email addresses, whatever we can, so we can connect with these people so that we can come together in groups. And so the other people said, well, Pam, why don't you just head this? This can be your thing. Um, and so at that point, that's what we did. We got all of this information and then we went to we started the first tea party. It was called East Valley Tea Party in Arizona. And we had, when we got to where we were having 300 to 400 people come every week, and we were educating them through the 5,000-year leap, we were educating them on the Constitution. And we had so many public figures contact us. I had the Attorney General contact me and all these politicians, and they wanted to come and speak at our tea parties because they knew that we were a movement, a force that they wanted to be involved in and they wanted a voice in. And so we had the East Valley Tea Party for a little over a year, and then I helped. I was asked to be the state director for that. At that point, Tea Party Patriots came to me and they said, "Hey, can you be the state director for Arizona?" And I said, "Sure." And so originally I had helped a few groups, other groups get started, but at, by the time I was finished being the state director, I had over 60 groups across the state that I worked with, and I would bring all the leaders together. I would call in Leadership Academy, Leadership Institute, or Americans for Majority, or just different groups to train these leaders, to teach them unity and getting along, and it's not all about anything but the movement. It's not about us individually. When I ran the East Valley Tea Party, a lot of people didn't even know I was the person behind the scenes, because I had a board of directors, and I would have I had 8 people on the board, and I would have each of them take turns and be in front with the mic and to be in the spotlight. And I didn't even want any of that. All I care about is saving my country. So that's a very long answer.
I get it. So it's your motivation to save the country that first exposed you to the political corruption, but then decided to fight it. Um, did you get any flack from the people that wanted to bribe you?
I didn't. I didn't expose them. I didn't, no, not at all. I just told them, I said, "Hey, uh, I have teenagers. This is not a good time in my life to even think about something like this." And I asked my church leader, I said, "Should I go to the attorney general? Should I try and get this out in the media?" But in reality, I was learning that who knows out there who is a part of this. I mean, they told me of all these groups that I had no clue that were a part of this whole thing. And so I knew I couldn't trust any of that. So I could only fight in the only way that I knew, and that was to just jump in and get people involved.
Wait, so your the advice your leaders gave you was don't bother because you're never going to find out who's behind it?
It was more like, for your safety and protection, you may not want to say too much, because and I understand why they said that now, because it's very extensive, the network, and it's not just a handful of people, it's a lot of people that are involved with this. And you look at America today and all the corruption and all the backroom deals, and it only makes sense that is why we are where we are today.
Do you feel any hope, or do you feel any success, or do you feel that the opposition is too great to beat them?
Oh, I feel a lot of hope. I I feel that as we follow promptings from our Heavenly Father, I feel like I've connected with so many wonderful Christians across the country. Um, I am grateful. I More recently, I'd say about 3.5 years ago, I felt like, okay, so in the past, I worked with all these leaders, but many of them aren't in the movement. Some of them have passed away, some have moved away. And so I actually gathered up all of the leaders, the current leaders, and I asked FreedomWorks to provide a luncheon, and I would have all these leaders from all these different groups come. And then we pulled everyone together. We worked together on projects, and so I feel it's very empowering when you are surrounding yourself by other people that believe the way that you do. It's very exciting. And if I had if I was retired, I would love to build a coalition of leaders across the country, and I would teach them exactly what I did, who to contact, how to get things going, because in Arizona, I feel that we're very strong. We have 90 plus conservative leaders working together now. And if we could do that in every state, what a blessing. What, we could do so much more. So once I'm retired, then I'll be able to have more time to do that type of thing.
So work is one of your constraints on your freedom work, but what about family? How has this experience of working on to save the country affected your family life?
Well, so I grew up very Christian conservative. Um, I raised my kids to be Christian conservative. I actually raised them in the Mormon faith, and we believe in Heavenly Father and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, and and I raised them in the faith the way that I was raised as a conservative. And my kids were all very strong in the faith. All of my sons went on missions for the LDS church. They served 2-year missions. They came home. They got married in the temple, which means that they were very strong moral. They followed a very strong moral code. No sex before marriage. No drinking. No smoking. No drugs. Very clean, pure lives. And then I sent my kids to a church school, to BYU, Idaho. And um, it didn't happen immediately, but over the next few years, I learned that they were learning a lot of woke ideology. It was information which actually was very confusing to them. It's something that I would expect in a secular college, but not in a church college. And they, one by one, they lost their faith. So I have, so most of my kids have lost their faith because of the kind of teachings at BYU, um, Idaho. And I know it's the same at the other church colleges as well, at least the Mormon church colleges. So I told my husband, I said, you know what, this is wrong. As a mom, for me, and you spend your whole life teaching your kids values and morals and getting them to a certain position in life, and then when they go off to a church college which you trust more than any other type of college, and their faith gets unraveled, that's wrong. That's absolutely wrong. And I told my husband, I said, you need to write a book. You need to have a book that has alternatives to college. And so he wrote the book 100% Success Without College. And in that book, the first part of the book addresses what is going on in the colleges, but the second half is over 12,000 high paying jobs for kids as they come out of high school. There's no need to go to college unless, of course, if they're going to be a doctor, which I do have a son that's a doctor, he's a dentist. There are some cases that you want your kids to have a college experience, but you need to arm them and let them know, hey, if you hear any of this woke ideology, this is wrong. Should not be your focus. Your focus should only be what you are there to learn so that you can do your profession. But for the most part, most kids don't need to go to college. Most kids, when they go, they come out, they don't believe in God. They're thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt which they can never bankrupt on. Um, they come out with so many challenges instead of what they're supposed to come out with, which is a knowledge so that they can have a great career. So, um, so that actually, honestly, if we were able to sell my husband's book across the country to all of those parents that really wanted to protect their kids from what's going on in college, then I could retire and then I could do so much more, which would be awesome. And it would bless so many lives. And they wouldn't have to go through what I went through as a mom, because it rips your heart out when your kids lose their faith.
Do you feel it's because the faith is strong, but the opposition is stronger, or do you feel that with a lot of religious kids, their faith is kind of weak, and if they're faced with any kind of opposition, they're going to cave.
So if my sons had not been full-time missionaries for the Mormon Church for 2 years, I might think, well, maybe their faith wasn't strong enough. But their faith was very strong. They were very grounded. And I think if they would have all gone to secular colleges, they would have been able to discern in their minds, oh, well, yes, this is what I was taught, what I was warned about. But when they go to a church college, that just doesn't make sense in their minds. It doesn't make sense in my mind how these woke professors can spew out their ideology and hurt the faith of so many.
So the corruption of the religious of the religion of the religious institutions led people to lose faith, led people to feel that their religious practice was no longer legitimate.
Um, you mean for the professors?
No, I mean, if you have a religious kid that goes to religious college, but the religious college is corrupt and the
Mhm.
professors are woke, then they lose faith in the entire institution. Is that
Oh,
kind of
of
what happened?
course. Oh, definitely, because these professors, they also have classes on different subjects in Mormonism. They have they have institute classes where they're teaching about the church, and in the classes they pray, and they, it's very religious. And so when you go and you pray, and then they teach you about climate change or CRT or whatever, that is part of a different agenda, that it just doesn't make sense.
I get that. Do you have the same sense of loyalty to your religion as you do to the country?
So I've always been very strong in my faith. When I was young, I was a missionary in Sweden. I've always loved to share my faith with other people. And but at this point, after what they did to my children, I'm really struggling with the Mormon faith. It's really, it hurts really badly. And I've spoken with my local church leaders about it, and they just say, oh, well, just, do you pray? Do you read your scriptures? Do you go to the temple? And I say, well, I do pray and I read my scriptures. I
There's a lot of people that stand up for freedom and against corruption who feel that it's a calling, who feel like they're doing God's work. Um, but if people, but what the situation you're describing is that you're doing God's work kind of on your own, as opposed to part of the community. That's a certain kind of hardship to kind of go it alone.
It is. It is. And there are a lot of wonderful people in my faith that I will always love and treasure. But I feel like I'm on the Lord's errand. I feel like I'm doing something for Him and for our country and for the parents across America. I feel like if we can get this information out to them so that their kids so they don't have to go through the pain that I went through as a mom, if they have alternatives for their kids, for me, that's what it's all about. That's where my heart is.
So the alternatives you're referring to are no college or getting a career
Right,
without college.
right. Yeah.
Hmm. And would that have people become better citizens?
At this point, I think it would. You look at the millions of moms that are homeschooling because they don't want their kids to have this influence in their lives. And they for all those years, they train their kids, they teach them, they are completely in control of what their kids learn. But when you send your kids off to college, you have no idea what they're being taught until it's too late.
Hmm. It sounds like the bad guys have succeeded in a way, in the sense that they've turned our own institutions against us. I mean, you're describing a classic case where where children are losing faith in their religion, people are losing faith in the government. People are losing faith in the market. People are losing faith all over the place. What does that say about but you managed to renew your faith solo because you still use the resources of your religion to strengthen yourself. What does that say though about people who don't really have a formal religion to practice? Are they lost? What resources could they have in order to renew their faith in life, or are they completely out of luck?
No, there's so much out there to help them on their journey. One of the biggest blessings in my life is I connected with Clay Clark of the Reawaken America tours. Oh, probably about 3 years ago. Gosh, it goes so fast. But and he brings in 80 speakers, goes from city to city to and brings in a lot of like Julie Green. She is one of the evangelical prophets that he's brought in, and just different people of religion that just are truly believing in God and in our country and in the Bible. Um, and so I've connected with a lot of these speakers because my husband has spoken at the Reawaken America tour. I spoke when I was introducing the leaders in Arizona. And so now we just have it's like that's my family. That's who I feel close to because we all believe in the same thing. We're all fighting for the same thing. And Julie Green has a podcast Monday through Friday, and she takes the scriptures and she talks about current events and she shows biblically where we are and how to arm ourselves and what we need to do to be strong in the fight. And so I faithfully listen to her, and I listen to others that bring inspiration. And I don't watch the regular news. I can't. It's too depressing. And I learn enough news by watching Julie Green, by what she says, by what she says is coming, and then her group will show, okay, this is what I said is coming. This is what has actually happened, and that is empowering to see the Lord's hand in our lives every day. There are miracles around us everywhere, and working with these people, I just feel like it's just inspirational. It definitely gives you a lot of hope.
So people can find inspiration and hope without going to a temple. If people have a yearning to be part of something larger, you're saying that there's activists, educators doing outreach, and it's becoming easier and easier for people to connect and plug in, right? Is that about right?
That definitely. And the most important thing is your relationship between you and God, and praying every morning, every day, throughout the day, and every night. Because when you have that connection, when you feel that calmness in your heart, and you know it's from Him, that's what is the most important thing. And He will bring people into your life that will bless you, and that you can continue to have that constant flow of inspiration from Him.
I can't think of a better way to end this, Pam. I think that you've shared it's not just inspiration, you've shared a source. You've helped people connect to something deeper than themselves. And I know that there's a lot of people that have been through what you've been through, both in terms of getting dismayed at the corruption of the government and getting dismayed at the corruption of the church. And yet, you are somebody who's managed to persevere through it, through in both accounts, and are paying a high family price to boot. Yet here you are, encouraging people to just stick with it. I can't think of really a better service you can provide to people than to show them that there's hope. You're living the example. And I want to
Oh,
thank you for doing that.
thank you.
You're welcome.